What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? So, there's a new reason why you should stop watching horror movies. I know horror movies are super popular. I have a lot of friends who love horror movies. You know, people like dressing up all in black and like, I don't know, they're just like horror movie fanatics. I have a buddy that loves to make horror movies, which I don't like to be a part of. But anyway, they came out with a new study and our sleeping brains cannot distinguish between dreams and reality. Okay, like our minds are so powerful we can't distinguish dreams from reality. Like our minds don't know the difference. We don't know that it's not real. Like that's how powerful our minds are. Okay, so when we're always putting these sick and disgusting images in our heads, or frightening or scary things, then it stays in there. We have a subconscious that everything we've ever seen, it stays in there forever. Okay, and then little kids are getting night terrors. They're having nightmares, and apparently it takes years off of your lives. Okay, you have a way higher percent chance to die before age 70 than people who don't have nightmares. Okay, so scientists don't even understand what like the subconscious is. They don't know what consciousness is. So it's like they don't really understand our subconscious and what happens when we watch all of this horror type stuff. We put it in our mind, it stays there forever. And when I was a kid, I used to like horror movies, but that was back when it was like Friday the 13th, and like Nightmare on Elm Street. It was just more like slasher horror. Now, like, you have so many horror movies. I mean, I don't want to put that stuff in my mind. I don't, because I know it stays there forever. Even seeing billboards, I live here, in Los Angeles, and there's always these horror billboards, and I look and I just like turn away as fast as possible because they're just like these disgusting images. I mean, when I was a kid, I was young and my cousin had all these VHS of Faces of Death and Traces of Death. And I was sitting there and I was watching them. And that stuff is still in my mind to this day. Like I could see it in my mind. Like it never leaves. This kind of stuff. It stays in your mind. Anyway, so our minds can't distinguish dreams from reality. It's like they did a study, where basketball, and they had a certain group practice actually physically throwing free throws from the free throw line. They practiced for a couple weeks, and then they had another group that just practiced in their mind. They just sat or did whatever and practiced in their mind, shooting free throws and correcting any kind of mistakes. If you missed, correcting it, and shooting it to go in. And after the study, it was very similar results. I think the people who actually practiced physically had like a 23% improvement, and the people who practiced in their mind got a 22% improvement. So it was pretty similar, almost exactly the same. So that tells you how powerful our imaginations are. Okay, so anyway, the study came out. 200,000 adults, 2,400 children who suffer nightmares weekly, either on a daily basis or at least once a week. They are over 3 times as likely to die before hitting 70 than those who don't have nightmares, okay? Because apparently the stress and all that kind of thing that people go through, it says nightmares are a strong predictor of premature death than poor diet, a sedentary lifestyle, or smoking. That is crazy. So these lifestyle uh, uh, things that we do, sedentary lifestyle, smoking, poor diets, you're less likely to die of that than to die of stress related, nightmares, which is crazy. Okay. So it says, nightmares trigger our fight or flight response, and the stress experienced could be more intense than anything we experience while we're awake. Okay, so the stuff that we experience when we're awake will maybe never be as intense as the dreams that we have. Okay, kids are playing these violent video games, shooting them up, shooting up, and watching all these horror movies, and who knows, it's just, like I said, these kids have night terrors, and it's like, what, you're putting all this stuff in your mind, but people aren't putting two and two together. Okay, it's like, you want a better life, people want a better life, and they're doing all these horrible things that's causing them to have a negative life. And it's like, you need to stop doing these things that affect you, that give you nightmares, that add stress to your life, that put you in that fight or flight mode. Okay, I'm trying to help you to better your life. And when you stop watching these horror movies, stop playing these video games, these violent video games, your life will improve, your life will get better. Okay, hopefully you'll stop having the nightmares. If you're not constantly consuming this stuff into your brain, listening to this music, watching these movies, playing these video games, your life is going to improve. Okay, and that's what everybody wants. They want their life to improve. People, kids are depressed, they're sad, they're taking themselves out. It's like, all this stuff is preventable. You just have to think logically about why this stuff is happening. Why are you depressed? Why are you sad? Why are are you affected so bad? Why are you having nightmares and night terrors? Okay, you're putting this stuff into your mind, and they have studies here that are showing you, that are telling you, when you do these things, you get nightmares, and it's taking years off of your life. Okay, apparently biological aging can be assessed by the length of our telomeres, which are tiny caps at the end of our chromosomes. So they're able to test our biological aging, because if the telomeres are real short, that means we're biologically aging. The older we get, the shorter our telomeres on our chromosomes get. So they're able to test that. So, them testing all these people who have nightmares, at least once a week, maybe more, they're able to see their biological aging and compare that to people who don't have nightmares and see their biological aging, and how and how early they pass away. Okay, so they were able to test this through the telomeres on our chromosomes, and like I said, the more nightmares you have, the more stress you have, the more fight or flight you go through. The fight or flight response, when you're completely stressed out, you get less sleep, you get more stress, and this chronic stress leads to premature aging, which leads to premature death. Okay, so it says they shrink as we age, and the telomeres shrink as we age, and they're also tied to diseases like cancer, heart issues, and other chronic conditions. Okay, those who experience night frights regularly had shorter telomeres, showing signs of accelerated biological aging and a 40% increased chance of dying early. So you have a 40% chance of dying early if you're having nightmares, weekly, nightly, even apparently like once a month. Even if you're having nightmares once a month, apparently it still, shortens your lifespan. Though, obviously if you're having weekly or nightly, that makes it more probable that you're going to be taken out a little earlier than everybody else. Okay. It says the premature aging could be due to increased stress and sleep disturbances, both which contribute to mortality. So when you have a lot of sleep disturbances and you have a lot of stress, those are two signs of that contribute to mortality. Okay. It says, what does it say? Nightmares also lead to prolonged elevations of cortisol, a stress hormone closely linked to faster cellular aging. So when we stress, our hormone called cortisol is released, and that's linked to premature aging of the cells. So you have this cortisol hormone is going around, and it's just aging the cells faster, because it's like, you're stressed out or whatever. The body's overnight cellular restoration and repair process is impaired. So when we go to sleep, obviously that's how our body repairs itself. You stretch it, you work during the day, you build muscles, you're just working. And then when you go to sleep, your body repairs itself through restoration and repair process. That's what happens when you sleep, okay? So that process is impaired when you're like waking up because of nightmares, when you're stressed out because of nightmares. Um, so yeah, so one, it releases a lot of cortisol, which is a hormone that ages the cells prematurely. And then also the sleep disturbances doesn't allow the body to heal itself. So it's like a double whammy. You get premature cells aging, and then your body doesn't get to repair itself. Okay, so it's, yeah, like I said, even monthly is bad. And then so here are some things you can do to try to stop having, that they recommend, that you can stop having nightmares and you can stop having night terrors. First thing, avoid scary movies. Okay, you know what I'm saying? You put that stuff into your mind, and like I said, when I was a kid, I didn't mind scary movies. I knew they were fake. They were fun to watch, but as I got older, I was like, I don't want this stuff in my mind. I'm not afraid, because I tell people, yeah, I don't like horror movies. And they're like, why not? Are you scared? And I'm like, no, I'm not afraid. I just don't want that stuff in my mind. If I could avoid it, I'm not going to do it. But it's so popular now. People like to be excited. They like to be scared. People, they just have a need to feel something, because in regular life, they're not feeling anything. So horror movies make them feel something. So that's why they love to go and watch it and get scared and all that kind of thing. Okay. So yeah, that was pretty much it. And then I went to the comments, and literally the first comment was, I hadn't had a nightmare for years until Biden was elected. And at first I was like, oh, that's a joke, right? It's funny. But then I thought about it, and I was like, during the whole, pandemic period, like that's when I got really, really stressed and scared, and I didn't know what was going to happen, because I didn't want to participate in everything that they, wanted everybody to do. I was, trying to pursue acting in the entertainment industry, and pretty much my agency dropped me because I wouldn't do, the things that they wanted us to do. And Hollywood was like one of the strictest places. Someone had told me that they were testing like 2-3 times a day, like once they started back in production, allowing people to come. They made everyone wear masks all day, and they um, made them get tests. They made them test when they first came in at lunch. It was like 2 or 3 times a day where they had to do tests. Like I said, they had to wear masks, and they had to show paperwork of, completing everything that we were told to complete anyway. So during that whole period, I was really stressed out, and I really feel like I did age a lot during like those 3 or 4 years. I feel like I aged a lot because I was really stressed out. Both my cats died. I may have had nightmares. I don't really know, but I think it really did affect me. So this comment I just thought was kind of funny at first. Then I was like, well, you know what? That during that period, I don't know if I had nightmares, but I did really get stressed out. But anyway, stop watching horror movies, guys. Stop watching horror movies. Start, putting nice things into your mind, so you can always be thinking about nice things. Stop watching the news. The news is super stressful, gives you nightmares. It's like they just keep repeating the same thing over. Bomb, 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 kill, 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 kill. Just all nonstop. It's just all the disasters of the world are just constantly going into your mind. And that's horrible for your psyche, for your thought process, your imagination. When you put that stuff in there, what happens? We don't know. Nobody knows. But obviously, people are having night terrors, people are having nightmares, which leads to cortisol release, not being able to sleep very well, premature aging of the cells, the telomeres getting shorter, and just becoming more stressed, and premature aging, which you have, a higher chance to die before you're age 70. But anyway, guys, hope you found this useful, and I hope you will stop watching horror. And, really take this into consideration and realize that your life can be really improved if you stop watching horror movies, if you stop watching the news, if you stop putting all this stuff into your mind, playing violent video games, scary video games, all these things that are very scary that we're putting in our mind, monsters, all this stuff. Your life will be improved drastically, okay? But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this, if it's just all nonsense, or do you guys really believe, you put all this stuff into your mind and you have nightmares and night terrors and it shortens your lifespan. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.